Hello and good evening, everyone. This is Ekta Sehgal, founder and chief strategy officer, Motherhood Club. Last week on Wednesday, we started our parenting series, talking about parenting, talking about how we need to prepare our kids to be topper in life and not just toppers in school. What did we understand? We understood that it is important to give that right value system, the quality time, and a lot more than just talking about marks, talking about school, talking about books, but a lot more than that. Perhaps talking about spirituality, the right set of values, how they can become good humans, and thereby becoming good humans for life and not just during their school days or younger days. And all this needs to start when they are young. All this was spoken by Dr. Priyanka, a parenting coach who's here again with us, yet again talking about something very interesting, which has actually got me thinking and wondering, I have never done this. So, what is it? That is setting goals for yourself, setting parenting goals. So, welcome, Dr. Priyanka. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me, Ekta.
Wonderful. So, Dr. Priyanka, as I said, you're talking about setting parenting goals. I have never done that. And it actually got me thinking too, and I started pondering over the fact that when we normally set goals, they're very time bound, right? How it's happened in the corporate world. You set smart goals, and the new thing is smarter goals. That's what at least we do when we talk about financial understanding. Do we also set parenting goals year by year, or they are like long term in nature? How does all of that happen? It's got, there's a lot of questions that's going on in my mind. But before that, I want to understand from you, what do you mean by setting these parenting goals?
Yes, so it's a very interesting topic, and it works like magic when you start setting goals. How I know that is because I've always been a conscious parent, right? I've been raised in a very conscious family. Ever since my first child was born, I've been very conscious. But somewhere down the line, I felt like I was really struggling to do everything that I wanted to really be that mom that I wanted to be with her, to raise her in a particular way. And I was just like reading endlessly books, Instagram reels, scrolling, talking to mentors. And what I realized is there was a huge gap because our lifestyle was so erratic, which most of us have today, right? We're overcommitted schedules all the time. And in those schedules, I was not able to really fine tune. Okay, this is exactly what, those top three things would be that I wanted to do with her at this age, when she's 4 years old. And I really want to focus on being, maybe a fun mom, or, an open mom, or a disciplined mom, whatever it was for me at that point of time. But when I realized that, when I sat down and wrote them down, that this is the kind of mom I want to be. And in order for me to do this, this is the kind of time I want to spend with my child. It totally changed the game for me because I made a commitment to myself. Because as a parent, every parent today that I talk to says, I want to spend quality time with my kids. But what does that quality time look like? Right? Quality time could be so many things. And then when we actually have the time, either we are too tired or we're just trying to figure out what do we do right now. Or we have, somebody calls and we realize that, okay, my kids are always available. Let me just take the phone call. And ultimately, wo hota nahi. And then we're living in regret saying, oh, I wish I had more quality time. Right? And so I think setting goals in itself is an act of committing to yourself. And that's why even when we set professional goals, financial goals, health goals, research has shown us that the person who has set a goal, who's written it down, and then who has broken it up into smaller, doable segments, has a far higher chance of reaching the goal than somebody who just has a wish, but who doesn't really convert it into an actionable plan. So,
Absolutely.
as we do a health goal where, we say, okay, I have to lose 5 kilos in the next 3 months, and I'm going to be gymming thrice a week and walking thrice a week, right? And we monitor our progress until we achieve that final outcome, whatever we're looking for. So, similarly, why can't we do it in parenting? You know?
That's a very interesting thing. And, I'm glad to hear that you're also propagating that we need to write down our goal, because that's what we do when we talk about financial goals, that, we actually need to write down, not just use a Excel or a Word file to put our goals down, because when you write it, I think the brain gets activated automatically that okay, and that whole commitment thing also happens. But a research also says that worldwide, it's only 8% of the goals that get actually achieved. Right now, parenting is something that if you go amiss to any particular goal that you may set, what those goals are, I'm definitely going to ask you. But looking at the statistics there, does that also get applicable to this? Or is it because you are more emotionally involved in this particular goal setting that you do, the achievement is a lot higher? So, what are your thoughts on this?
So I think the data that is there is basically telling us that the first part is having a wish, right? Second is writing the goal, but just writing the goal won't make it come true until we don't convert that goal into an action and then that action into being accountable. You're not going to move anywhere. And a lot of people set really big goals which seem impossible. Right? That's why they say that break it down into smaller chunks, and then you have to have somebody you're accountable to ensure that you're moving. Right? Like in a corporate structure, you're always accountable to your senior or the higher management, right? You have like a quarterly review or a term review, yearly review, and that ensures that your motivation stays up. It's the same thing that's applicable in parenting, right? You need to keep reviewing your goal, saying, okay, I had set a goal. I mean, it's as simple as your child is setting a goal that I want to learn how to read, right? And so just wishing or writing that I want to know how to read is not going to help your child to read, right? You have to see, okay, in 3 months, my child is able to read, basic level one books. Now, the next 3 months, my child, let's progress and move to level two books, or let's progress and move to level three books. But the starting point is that thought that I want my child to be able to read, and then you have to convert it. So we always say smart goal setting, which you had mentioned, right? That in the corporate world we do smart goal setting. Similarly, in parenting you can do smart goal setting. So your
Okay,
goals
so
have to be specific, they have to be measurable, they have to be action oriented, they have to be time bound.
now that obviously gets me to the most obvious question, that how do we identify these goals and how do we set them? How do we make them very realistic in nature? Because obviously, as a parent, you have a lot of aspirations. You would definitely want that, okay, my child should be able to, forget crawling or walking. My child should just start sprinting or start running. So, how does one set these goals, and what could be these goals actually? Because I'm sure, while every child is unique, the achievement of the goals or the milestones may vary depending upon the ability of the child, the time that the parents spend, or the understanding of the parent, also for that matter. But are these goals broadly the same for most of us? Yes, no, and how do we set these goals?
So, see, if we look at the bigger picture, there are two parts to parenting, right? One is your parenting for the future, that, 20 years down the line, I want my child to be able to live a good, successful, happy life, right? All of us want that. There's no parent who doesn't want that. And in order for us to reach there, we all have our different ways in which we do it, right? We get them into the best of schools, the best of uh, tutors, the best of classes, everything we are doing to reach that 20 years down the line. This is what I want. So that's a bigger picture, and it's good to just have it in mind. And I think everyone wants that, so it's not something to really think about. But when we're talking about goals, it has to be year by year. And how does it start? It starts by reflecting on the last year. So suppose we are in 2024, right? My kids are now 12 and 6. So when I set my goals for this year, parenting goals, I said, okay, let's go back to 2023 and let's see, what were the best moments with my kids and what were the not so good moments, or, things that I was disappointed in myself. I could have been done better. Maybe, I was too harsh with them, or maybe I didn't have a control on my language, or maybe, I could have had better ways of communicating. But for some reason, I was very stressed out last year. It was not a good year and it kind of came out on my kids. Now, when I realize that, then I say, okay, this year, what do I want to change? Right? So there are two parts to parenting goals. One is about me as a mother. What are the goals for me? Who do I want to be? Right? And second are the goals for my kids. So parenting goals are actually not milestones for children. Those would be individual goals you set for your kids. My child should be able to run so much, read so much, walk so much, exams में इतने marks चाहिए, ये admission चाहिए इस university. That's the child's individual goals, which we anyways work on, right? Parenting goals are more about the relationship, that as a mother or as a father, who do I want to show up, right? And secondly, how do I want our relationship to start growing, right? So let's talk about the first part. As a parent, if I say, okay, what did I do really well last year, right? So you must have different memories. I was able to really say no to some social commitments and give that quality time to my kids, right? I was able to prioritize. I have made sure that Sunday mornings I'm available for my kids, for example. Or I started to have much more open conversations with my kids, right? And so suppose you feel that that worked for you, you're going to continue it in the next year, right? You want to build on it. And the other side is, what was I disappointed of? Maybe I was never available to them. Maybe I had my second child and I neglected the first child. Maybe there was a lot of friction in the house and I could see the impact on my kids. There was some discord between my in-laws and me, my husband and me, and that kind of had a rebound effect on my child. So who do I want to be this year? Do I want to be like a more fun parent? Maybe I was too strict with my kids. It was board exams and I was always on their head, and I felt that that really ruined our relationship. But this year, I want to change that. Like, I want to be that parent who they can really come to and just sound everything out to. Maybe I was too fast. I realized that my child is not able to cope up with me. Like, I'm telling him कि भी तुम जल्दी करो, तुम सब चीज में जल्दी करो, तुम बहुत slow. But at some point, I realized that my child is not capable right now to match up to my speed. So let me slow down, right? Maybe I need to give my child more practice, more time, more patience. So the first question is, who do I want to be with my kids? And this is going to change, right? Like with your younger kids, you're going to be a different kind of a parent. With your teenagers, you're probably not going to want to be that very strict disciplinarian. You want to probably be like a mentor at times, a friend at times. If your child is just about to leave to university and you just have like that last 1 year, right? That's very precious. So maybe you want to be that person who takes your child out for drives and just kind of creates memories with the child, because you know that after this, your children are just going to be there for maybe a couple of weeks, and you want to
So,
create that trust and rapport.
so what I understand is that we are basically talking about goals for ourselves and goal basically to strengthen the emotional bonding that a parent has with a child, which eventually will lead to the first aspect that you spoke about last week about being a topper in life. Because if the family environment, the home environment is conducive, that is one. Two, if you are able to maybe make a better version of your own self, specifically as a parent, because as a professional or as a person at work, you keep thriving to do better and better. And somewhere, parenting, perhaps again, since there are no rule book, there is no barometer to ascertain whether you've done a good job or not. Maybe we take it either for granted or take it our rightful right to do it the way we want to. So it's the emotional bonding and the equation with the child is what we need to has to be our very first goal to become a better version of ourselves. Is that, I mean, I understand from you what this is what I
Yeah.
understand.
And when you set it as a goal, there's a much higher chance that, one, you'll remember, and two, you'll follow through. If I keep telling my kids that, Arey, I wish I had more fun with my kids, Arey, why do I have to be so strict with my kids? But if I don't make that a goal, that, I'm going to make sure that every week, at least 2 days of the week, like, we have fun together. I want to be that
Right.
mom who plays games with my kids. I want to be that mom who runs around the kids. Or I want to be the mom who hugs my kids. If I don't give it a number, it's not going to come naturally to me. Because if it was supposed to come naturally, वो तो आ चुका होता ना. नहीं है,
Correct.
तो फिर I have to consciously do it now,
So does
right?
that also that does that mean conscious parenting basically?
100%.
Okay. So I set my goal, one goal, which is emotional bonding or making myself a better version of me, right? But again, in that whole process, there would be times where you may not be able to live up to your own expectations. So how do you actually get to review the whole process, right? like I said, as I said in the beginning, that smart is passive. You're not talking about smarter goals where you're evaluating and you're reviewing it on an ongoing basis. So, how do you assess here? Because you are the one who set the goal, you are the one who's assessing it. Sometimes you might not be very objective about it, or you may try to justify that, okay, I did this because of this, or because the child behaved in a certain manner. So how does one bring in that objectivity in this very important goal that you just explained to us?
So I think it's about making it as concrete as possible. So generally, when I work with parents, I tell them that the easiest way to start off is you set goals in three categories. One is fun, one is connection, and one is learning or growth. Right. So we want to set one goal to have fun with our kids. Right? Now, what does that look like? Right? Fun could be, once a week we take our kids out. Fun could be every Friday we have a movie night and we cook together. Fun could be every day in the evening we chit chat, we play board games. Right? So you have to define what fun looks like. And then you have to say, okay, practically in today's world, with all the overcommitted schedules that we have, let's give it a number, 3 to 4 times a week. And uh, let's try to achieve at least 60%. कि अगर हमने 4 दिन लिखा है तो 3 दिन हमें करना ही करना है. Right? So the best way and the most effective way to really make this happen is have like a weekly family time where you say, okay, how was our last week? If that doesn't work, then do at least a monthly or quarterly kind of just an assessment. Get your husband on board so that you guys are like accountability partners to each other. Right? If your husband is not on board, get your kids on board, saying that, I really want to do this with you. Some reason or the other, it's not happening. You guys remind me. So fix a day, fix a time. How as you schedule business meetings, you don't generally skip them, right? But family meeting, आप बहुत जल्दी skip कर देते हो. There's something that comes up and you're like, अरे घर में ही तो है, हो जाएगा, but it doesn't happen. So it's about the seriousness that you have when you set a goal, saying that, because I've committed this time, I'm going to make myself available, as we do in every other area of our life. Because I had read a very beautiful quote somewhere that says that, the most important people in our life are our family, right? Our kids and our partner. But the best version of ourselves, we always give to everybody else in our life. We go to a meeting, it's like we're prim and proper with the best version of ourselves. We go to a lunch date, we're all excited, full of energy. But at home, we give them the worst versions of ourselves, thinking ki arey ye to ghar wali hai. What we're missing in that is that our kids are actually picking up our energy. And if we're always going to be that worst version of ourselves with them, then that's what they're picking up from us, right? And so
Yeah, that's
when
true.
we schedule this time, that means we are telling ourselves that no matter how I was the rest of the day, I was too tired, too stressed, but this time is very important for me and my relationship with my kids, and I'm going to be my best self. And your kids actually don't need more than that. Like you can be whoever you are the rest of the day, but if you can give your kids that 20 minutes or 30 minutes of like high quality, high energy time, that's good enough for them.
Absolutely. So, very interesting thing that Dr. Priyanka has shared, that you need to set the goal of the emotional bonding with your children, and also need to review it. Review it with all the stakeholders perhaps. जो भी जिनके लिए आपने गोल्स बनाए हैं, उनको भी आप कॉन्फिडेंस में लीजिए. Tell them that you wish to work upon these areas so that that bonding between the parent and the child is stronger. When you will have more control over your emotion, because I think as a parent you go through so much of emotional turmoil, and that may be one of the reasons why the goals don't get met, because you're either occupied with work or you're going through some or the other emotional upswing or downswing, and hence the whole brunt of it goes to the children. So, Dr. Priyanka, in addition to the emotional bonding as a very important goal, are there any other goals that as a parent we need to set for ourselves?
So, learning goals, I really advocate because all of us want our kids to be lifelong learners, right? Especially in today's time when every day there is something new that's coming up that our kids would probably have to learn. So, it's more of the attitude that we enjoy learning. and the child is going to pick that up the easiest from the home. So can we set a learning goal together? We're going to learn a new skill together this year. So since we're doing it together, it automatically facilitates your connection and bonding, but it also creates that growth environment. We're going to read one book a month and discuss it. All of us are going to read the same book and discuss it like you do in a book club. This is the kind of content that we're going to consume. We're going to watch interesting documentaries together. So instead of watching anything, we're going to focus on this now, right? We're going to talk about news together. So these can all be small, easy to do goals. They don't have to be something very difficult to do. The idea is that this is going to help ensure that, हर पेरेंट को लगता है मेरे बच्चे का जीके स्ट्रॉन्ग करना है. I want to have open communication. I want to have discussions with my kids, right? Every parent you talk to of a teenager said, I really want to share my perspective with my child. But it doesn't happen. But as soon as you convert that into a goal, it'll start to happen.
So, do we, while we set this goal or multiple goals for ourselves as parents, do we also need to do some kind of a SWOT analysis for ourselves?
Yeah,
Because, you know, sometimes as parents, you may not have that knack, or you may not be very vocal, you might be an introvert yourself, but your child is a talkative child. Just a small example. And the child, maybe the child is a chatterbox and you are quite a person. In that situation, do you as a parent critically evaluate yourself so that you can make yourself better? That is one. Two, are there any motivational ways of motivating the parent that, okay, you've set this goal for yourself, you need to work upon that? Does that completely translate into having a better version of not just yourself but your child also?
100%. I mean, that's why parenting coaching is getting more and more popular today than ever before, right? Because parents are realizing that you need an accountability partner. You need somebody to really brainstorm and help you come to crystal clarity. Ki, acha, how do I make this easy? How do I make this work in the kind of time frame that I have? If I have only 15 minutes, how do I make the most out of it? And that's what we do in our programs and with our clients is we really help parents get that clarity and then ensure that they do it. Because when you have to come back to somebody and tell them that, hey, I did it for a week and this is the transformation I got, then you're more motivated to do it the next week. And when you realize that you have to come back, even if you don't feel like doing it, you're going to do it. So you need to be accountable to somebody unless you're highly motivated yourself, right? Anybody for that matter. And that's why I think parenting coaching is becoming more popular because people are realizing that parenting in the modern day is very challenging, right? And even if the problem seems small, but we're still facing the problems and we're not able to overcome them. So that means they're not as easy as they look. Like, there are certain forces from the environment that are just not allowing us to do the things that we wish to do. So we have to kind of increase our strength, increase our commitment in order to really move over them and say, no, I'm going to make sure that I still do this. Like, it's very easy to come home and be on Netflix and Instagram, right? There's nothing that's stopping us. It takes effort for you to say that, no, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to, help my kids also stop it and we're going to spend time together. And then it takes effort, especially if you have like preteen and teen kids, to even figure out how do I engage them in a conversation? Because most of the time by that age, they're not interested in talking to the parents.
Yeah, because the initial years where you should be doing that, that's gone. You completely missed that. You missed the bus at that time. I think one of the goals that a lot of parents would have as to how to get the kids off the digital platform, especially with the constant looking at the phone. You go to parties and weddings and you see kids don't open their mouth without the phone in front. And, the moment the phone is there, they give them anything to eat. It could be as yummy or as just about okay food, and they gobble it. So I remember, I think my daughter was around 3, and I thought that maybe allowing her to watch the phone, to listen to nursery rhymes might be a good idea for her to get a sense of it. And soon it became a reason that, okay, give me the phone, otherwise the mouth doesn't open. And so now that was definitely a huge challenge. And then we decided that, okay, no more phones. not for her, but for us also. So the moment she used to come back from her play school, I used to keep my phone aside for the next couple of hours and make sure that it was on silent also, so that I don't get distracted or attracted to pick it up to check as to who's calling. And of course, for emergency, the landline number was there with the relevant people. And gradually we kind of got her off the phone, that okay, no phone, eat when you eat, and no books, nothing. So that became a habit. So now, I feel very happy that when she eats on her own with no phone, she may take a little longer than the other kids, but which is absolutely okay. At least she's not distracted. At least she knows what she's eating and the right nutrients are going in her body. So I think you're absolutely right that as a parent, the moment we set these goals for ourselves, I think it opens a huge opportunity to connect with your child, engage with them, have those meaningful conversations. And I had realized this, Dr. Pranga, when I started hosting children of different age group. And, the kind of questions I would ask them and the kind of response that I would get from them. And after every talk show, I would think, do I have this kind of a conversation with my child? So the answer used to be like a loud no. So I started engaging with her in those kind of of course, age appropriate. And that was the same feedback that I would get from parents, that we never thought that a child could think like this. So I said, because you never asked these questions, because I was asking as a mentor. And, so I think, would it be fair to say that as parents, somewhere we need to also wear the hat of a mentor to our child, so that we don't just have that air, if I for a lack of a better word, or how in the good old days, there was this, that okay, I'm the parent, so you got to listen to me, and otherwise, it's my way or the highway kind of a thing. So, you know the environment has changed, the parenting has changed. And as you said that, there is something different about the current generation. So definitely I feel these the goals that you have spoken about, fun, learning, and the connectivity, the contact that you have with your children, I think they are very important. And I take back a lot of interesting things, and it's getting me to think that okay, knowingly, unknowingly, we were setting these goals. Maybe we just didn't write them down. That okay, but yes, you do discuss with your partner. So, lastly, again, one strong piece of advice for our parents, so that they are able to set these goals for 2024.
So I think it's really, I mean, when I work with my clients, we actually have a full workbook that we give them, that helps them kind of go step by step and say, okay, what are those few goals we want to come down to? But doing it on your own, I think it's really about, what is it that I want to see at the end of this year? What is the change that I want to see at the end of this year? मेरा बच्चा खा नहीं रहा है, वो खाना शुरू कर दे. My child is on screen too much, they're off screen. My child doesn't talk to people, they start to talk to people. Or my child doesn't share with me, they start sharing me. So first, identify what are those one or two things that you want to see a change in this 1 year. Make it easy for yourself. And identify what are those two activities that I can commit to doing with my child to help my child get there. So it's like me and my child are in it together. My child is overweight. I want to make them more fit. My child has diabetes. I want to ensure that they start picking up the right foods. There's so many issues, right? I mean, it's not easy. But if I can be in it together with my child, connectivity to automatically aa jayegi. But you'll be able to achieve much, much more than you would by just lecturing or trying to explain to your child that, aise nahi karna chahiye, waise nahi karna chahiye. It won't work. When you're in it together with them, then your child is also naturally motivated to do whatever is needed. So I think, that would be my tip.
Yeah. So I guess actions speak louder than words. If as parents we make those changes in our approach, in ourselves, automatically children are keen observers. They would also see that there is a conscious effort being made by the parent to bring in that harmony in the relationship, to have fun together, to learn together, and to, you know bring that bond together. So I think all in all, it is very important for each one of us as parents to set these goals. And I think, Dr. Priyanka, I'll just take another minute or two. I know today you are short on time. Would it also be fair to say that parents and grandparents should also come together to form some goals, so that the disconnect that we spoke about last time, that as a parent you were saying something, the grandparents saying, so maybe they can also together set some goals, so that the discord between the two of them, the disharmony that exists because of that, and the views that are there because of the generation gap can also be reduced in a family.
I mean, that would be the ideal way to go about it, right? If you're able to do that, then I think you've really won half the game. If you're able to really have an open conversation with the grandparents, saying that, okay, these are the areas that I feel we should work on, and what do you feel about it? And you guys can actually have an open discussion without any blame game or judgments, saying, okay, if we want our child to be more active, what how can we all help in that process? And if we're all a part of it, then the child will naturally start to connect with all of us. So it's like, you get double the benefit.
Absolutely. So wonderful. I think I'm only receiving comments like amazing, amazing, and very relevant discussion. Looks like everybody's thinking as to, did they ever set goals, or how do we set our goals? So perhaps I have asked you a lot of questions today. So, so there is this very interesting comment that has come. I'm just seeing whose is it. Concluding, your children learn by your actions, not by your words. Absolutely. That is so right, Snelata. Thank you so much. Parents and other caregivers are essential resources for children in managing emotional arousal, coping, and managing behavior. You're very right, Sangeeta Venkatesh. That's very true. So, thank you so much, Dr. Priyanka, for helping us navigate this whole goal setting as for parents. And I'm sure next week there's going to be something very interesting again that you're going to be talking to help us, you know, have a very seamless progress in our parenting experiences. So thank you so much. And yes, it's always a two-way communication. Here also, it was a two-way communication, a parent and a parenting coach talking from experience, talking from things that we see around, and we will continue to have such interesting conversations. We will see you all again next Wednesday at 5 o'clock with Dr. Priyanka. Till then, take care and stay safe. And thank you once again, Dr. Priyanka, for being here and sharing insights.
Thank you so much. It was lovely. And, if anyone has any questions or comments, they can drop them and I can also answer them later after the live.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. And see you,
Thank you.
everyone, later. Bye bye. Signing off for today. Bye bye.